You open your eyes. The sound of the alarm clock is not just a signal, it is a physical pain that pierces through your skull. Your first desire is not to get up and conquer the world, but to negotiate with reality for 5 more minutes of oblivion on your pillow. Your body feels heavy, as if filled with lead, and your thoughts are slow, sticky like wet cement. You slept for 7, maybe 8 hours, yet you feel as though you spent the entire night unloading trucks. If you felt the weight of this description, your machine is operating in emergency mode. But this is not your fault. It is a system failure. Forget the motivational speeches and positive thinking. Biochemistry does not care about your thoughts when there is no fuel in the cells. We are here to dismantle the human being piece by piece, find the defect, and put everything back together. For this task, we use Axiom, an analytical artificial intelligence that processes terabytes of medical data, scientific research, and behavioral patterns. We fed Axiom the life parameters of an ordinary urban citizen of the 21st century, and the system issued a definitive verdict. Critical error in energy exchange. What you call tiredness is, in fact, the symptom of a global violation in life support protocols. First, we need to tear down the myth that poisons millions of people. The myth of laziness. Laziness does not exist. What society has become accustomed to labeling as laziness, lack of will, procrastination, or apathy is actually a defense mechanism of your biological machine. When your smartphone battery hits 5%, it dims the bright screen, blocks background applications, and stops updating your emails. You do not scream at your phone accusing it of laziness. You look for a charger. Your brain does exactly the same thing. When you feel you cannot force yourself to work, it means your central nervous system has detected a deficit of neurotransmitters or the depletion of glucose reserves in your prefrontal cortex. The system enters energy-saving mode. Trying to overcome this condition with willpower alone, without correcting the physiological cause, leads to complete burnout in 98% of cases. Forget laziness. The real diagnosis is a dead battery. And now let us run a full diagnostic on where all your electricity is leaking to. The first and most massive factor we identified is what we call evolutionary mismatch. Try running the newest, most demanding game on a computer built in the 90s. The machine will overheat, start to freeze, and eventually burn out. The human body is that machine, shaped by hundreds of thousands of years in the conditions of the savannah. Our genetics, our hormones, our mitochondria were optimized for an environment of calorie scarcity, high physical activity, and a life regulated by the cycle of the sun. But we took this ancient, perfect equipment and placed it in an environment for which it was not remotely designed. The results of simulations on the conditions of a modern office worker show a catastrophic conflict. We sit under light bulbs that flicker at a frequency invisible to the eye, but which the brain interprets as a stress factor. We breathe air where the concentration of carbon dioxide, by the middle of the day, can double compared to normal, which reduces cognitive capacity by up to 30%. We consume a volume of information our ancestor would not receive in an entire lifetime. Every notification, every bright advertisement, every sharp sound is a micro-stress, activating the ancient fight-or-flight reaction. But we do not fight, nor do we flee. We sit. And this unused chemical cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline begins to corrode us from the inside, wasting colossal resources just to maintain tension in the muscles. Your fatigue is not just a feeling. It is the result of a silent war between your ancestral biology and your modern environment. We already know the system has failed. You are not lazy, you are out of power. Now it is time to descend from the macro level of your sensations to the micro level of your cellular biology. Let us go to the place where every spark of your vital force is truly born. Welcome to the engine room of the human body. Forget coffee, energy drinks, and willpower for a minute. All of these are just attempts to squeeze the last drops out of a dry lemon. True energy is pure physics and chemistry. It is the electric current that runs through your nerves, contracts your muscles, and makes the neurons in your brain form thoughts. Where does this current come from? The answer is surprising. You are a walking colony of ancient bacteria working for you. We are talking about mitochondria. They are tiny organelles that live inside almost all of your cells. Billions of years ago, our single-celled ancestors swallowed these bacteria, but instead of digesting them, they made a deal. The cell would provide protection and nutrients, and the bacteria in exchange would produce energy. This symbiosis is the foundation of all complex life on Earth, and it is the foundation of your personal efficiency today. Axiom analyzed the dependence between a person's vigor level and the state of their mitochondrial network. The correlation is 99.9%. If your mitochondria function poorly, you will feel exhausted, even if you sleep 12 hours and take every supplement in the world. If they operate at maximum capacity, you will have energy to spare, even under stress. Let us understand how this internal power plant works. The main currency of energy in our body is called ATP. ATP works like a fully charged battery. The mitochondria take glucose or fat, mix it with oxygen, and in a complex process, charge the ATP molecules. This battery then travels to wherever energy is needed. Upon releasing its energy, ATP transforms into a dead battery, which returns to the mitochondria to be recharged. This cycle happens millions of times per second. During a single day, your body produces and consumes an amount of ATP equivalent to its own weight. 70 kilograms of pure chemical fuel are synthesized inside you every 24 hours. So what is the problem? Why does the system fail? The energy production process is dirty. Like any power plant that burns fuel, the mitochondria produce exhaust fumes. In biology, these are called free radicals. They are unstable molecules that damage everything around them. In a young, healthy body, there are defense systems that neutralize this smoke. But with age and the modern lifestyle, the balance is broken. By age 40, the efficiency of the mitochondria of an average urban dweller drops by 30 to 40%. The free radicals begin to damage the mitochondria themselves, which then start producing less energy and more toxic smoke. It is a chain reaction. This is what lies behind aging and chronic fatigue. But we are here to fix the system. The solution has two parts: cleaning and construction. First, the cleaning. We need to force the body to destroy the old and defective mitochondria, and the most effective way to do this is through controlled stress. A modern man lives in a thermal paradise, always at 22 degrees. This comfort is a degradation factor. One of the most potent triggers for mitochondrial renewal is the cold. When you expose your body to low temperatures, like in a cold shower, a powerful activation occurs. The body panics and, to warm itself, activates a special type of fat full of mitochondria, whose sole function is to burn calories to generate heat. Regular exposure to cold increases the density of mitochondria in the tissues. You become a furnace that generates energy. The second strategy is the construction of new and powerful power plants. And here, movement is the key. But not just any movement. Many people exhaust themselves with high-intensity workouts. For mitochondria, this can be excessive stress. There is a golden zone, known as Zone 2. It is low-intensity exercise like a brisk walk or a light jog, at a pace where you can still hold a conversation without losing your breath. In this mode, the body learns to burn fat, which demands a more developed mitochondrial network. By training in Zone 2, you send a signal to your cells. We need a constant and lasting supply of energy. The cell responds by building new mitochondria. Your battery gets bigger. Your energy is the quantity and quality of your mitochondria. To restore your vital force, you need to become the engineer of your internal power plant. Eliminate excessive comfort, introduce thermal stress, move slowly, but for longer. But even the most perfect power plant will not work if you throw trash into the furnace. The problem now is what you put inside. Even the most finely tuned engine turns into scrap metal with the wrong fuel. Axiom does not view food as pleasure or tradition. For our system, your food is a chemical substrate, a code that reprograms your biology. And judging by the statistics of metabolic diseases, most people are writing this code with fatal errors. There is a paradox in our time. We eat more than any of our ancestors, yet our cells are starving. We are drowning in calories but suffocating from a lack of energy. The answer to this mystery lies in a hormone that manages all the energy traffic in your body. Its name is insulin. Imagine that your cell is a house, and glucose is the logs of wood that need to be brought inside to light the fireplace. Insulin is the delivery guy who holds the key to the door. In a normal situation, you eat an apple. Your blood sugar rises a little, the pancreas sends insulin. It opens the cell doors, glucose enters, the mitochondria burn it, and you feel full of energy. But what happens in reality? The modern diet is based on carbohydrates. Cereal for breakfast, a sandwich for lunch, pasta for dinner, cookies during breaks. We bombard the body with glucose every 2 or 3 hours. The delivery guy is constantly knocking on the cell door. The cell, overloaded with glucose it cannot burn due to a lack of physical activity, begins to defend itself. It changes the locks. It stops responding. This condition is called insulin resistance. And what happens next is a disaster scenario. You eat a plate of pasta. Glucose enters the blood. It is too much glucose, but the cells are locked. They scream to the brain, "We are hungry, there is no energy." The brain panics and orders the pancreas to produce even more insulin. The hormone level skyrockets. Under this pressure, the cells crack open a sliver, but only to send the excess glucose straight to the fat depot. In the end, there is an insulin storm in your blood, your fat reserves grow, and you have no energy because access to it is blocked. And 2 hours later, the inevitable happens. Blood sugar levels plummet. It is the so-called insulin crash. Your brain registers this as a life threat. You feel sudden weakness, tremors, irritability, and an uncontrollable craving for something sweet. This is not a lack of willpower. It is a biochemical prison. But there is another problem. Glucose is a dirty fuel. Burning it produces many more free radicals than burning fat. Remember the exhaust fumes from the last part? Living on sugar is like operating a coal power plant. Lots of soot, lots of wear and tear. There is an alternative. Evolution gave us a hybrid engine. We can run not only on glucose but also on fat. And the fuel derived from fat is called ketones. Ketones are like jet fuel compared to the coal of glucose. They burn cleanly, producing minimal oxidative stress. The brain operating on ketones enters a state of clarity. The brain fog disappears. But most importantly, the energy level becomes stable. You no longer need to throw wood on the fire every 2 hours. You have access to a massive internal reserve tank. Why do we not use this superfuel? Because high insulin blocks fat breakdown. While you eat carbohydrates, your fat depot is locked. You carry kilograms of energy but die of hunger if you do not eat a piece of bread. It is absurd from an engineering point of view. How do we flip this switch? The first step is to eliminate the white noise. Sugar, white flour, processed grains, they are toxins. Remove them. The second step is to invert the food pyramid. We need to replace carbohydrates with fats, not the trans fats from margarine and fast food, but constructive lipids. Avocado, olive oil, fatty fish, nuts, eggs. Fat is not the enemy. It is the raw material for the membranes of your neurons and the base for hormone synthesis. The third step is the eating window. Let us return to intermittent fasting. Every meal is an insulin spike. If you eat from 8 in the morning to 11 at night, your insulin never drops enough. Try a 16-8 method. You consume all your fuel within 8 hours, and for the other 16, you drink only water. In those 16 hours when insulin drops, the body is forced to access fat stores. Ketone production begins. In the first few days, you will feel resistance. It is the keto flu. Your brain, addicted to easy sugar, will beg for a dose. But this is not a failure. It is the recalibration of your body. Your nutrition is an engineering task to ensure stable and clean burning. The fuel algorithm formula is simple. First, stabilize insulin. Second, switch to clean fuel, minimizing carbohydrates and increasing quality fats. Third, respect the eating window. Give the body time for maintenance. Now that we have adjusted energy production and ensured the supply of quality fuel, we need to talk about the most important maintenance process, a process that occupies a third of our lives, but which we treat with criminal negligence. We have adjusted energy production and secured the fuel. But imagine a factory that operates in 3 shifts, without stops, without breaks for maintenance or cleaning. The machines overheat, piles of trash accumulate in the corridors, wiring sparks. Sooner or later, this factory will blow up. Your body is exactly that factory, only there is a moment where all of this is processed. The third of your life you spend unconscious is not a waste of time, but the foundation of your productivity. Sleep is far from passive. It executes a complex program of updates and repairs. If you interrupt this process or execute it with errors, in the morning, you will have a crashed system. There are two critical phases for your energy. The first is deep sleep. In this stage, your breathing slows down, body temperature drops, and the brain disconnects from the senses. This is where physical recovery occurs. The body releases growth hormone, which heals micro-injuries in the muscles, restores immune cells, and most importantly, renews the fleet of mitochondria. If you have a deep sleep deficit, you age faster. The second phase is REM sleep. It is the mental workshop. Here the brain processes the day's information, moves memories from short-term to long-term, and removes the emotional charge from traumatic events. But the most important discovery about sleep is the glymphatic system. Imagine a metropolis at night. When traffic stops, cleaning crews take to the streets. In your brain, the same thing happens. During the day, your neurons produce metabolic waste. If this trash is not removed, it accumulates and literally suffocates the neurons. The glymphatic system is the brain's sanitation service. During deep sleep, the channels between brain cells expand, allowing spinal fluid to wash the brain tissue, dragging away all toxins. It is a physical brainwashing, and it only works in the deep sleep phase. If you sleep superficially, the cleaning crew does not go out. You wake up with a brain full of toxic waste. Why do we not sleep well then? Because we cannot turn off the alert system. Your body has two main operating modes. The parasympathetic of rest and digest, where energy is accumulated, and the sympathetic of fight or flight, designed for short-term survival. For your ancient brain, there is no difference between a saber-toothed tiger and an angry boss, between a real threat and a bill deadline. The chemical reaction is identical, except the tiger would leave and the stress would end. The modern tiger does not leave. It lives in your phone, in your thoughts. With every notification, every piece of crisis news, your stress hormones are activated. But you do not run, you sit. Axiom's analysis calls this the metabolic stress cycle. Your body is constantly in emergency mode, diverting energy from non-essential functions like immunity and digestion. The good news is that we can fix the break. There is a biological switch that takes us out of fight mode and puts us into rest mode. It is the vagus nerve. It is the main communication highway of your calm system. You cannot order your brain to relax with the force of thought. Trying to tell someone in a panic to just calm down never works, but you can hack the system through the body, sending the brain a physical signal of safety via the vagus nerve. The most powerful tool is breathing. To activate the vagus nerve, use the physiological sigh. You inhale deeply through your nose, and at the top pull in a little more air to fully expand the lungs. Then, exhale slowly through the mouth, as if blowing through a thin straw. The long exhalation is a direct engagement of the heart's brake pedal. Another method is the diving reflex. When your face feels cold water, the body instantly slows the heart. If you feel anxiety coming, splash ice-cold water on your face. It is an emergency reboot. Stress is the biggest thief of your energy. To stop draining your resources, you need to learn to use the brake. But what if the problem is not just stress, but the very desire that keeps us awake? You wake up full of determination to change your life. You plan to write a book, learn a language, start a business. But your hand reaches for the phone just for a second, just to check emails, just to take a look at the news. Half an hour later, you find yourself scrolling through an endless feed of short videos. Another hour passes, and you feel a strange emptiness. The big plans seem distant, and your brain demands only one thing: more content, more food, more of something simple and pleasant. At night, you hate yourself for the lack of willpower. Promise to start tomorrow, and the cycle repeats. The culprit has a name: dopamine. This neurotransmitter is a key element in controlling human behavior. But let us destroy a popular myth. Dopamine is not the pleasure hormone. It is the hormone of anticipation, of motivation. The evolutionary task of dopamine was to get you up and looking for food, water, or a partner. It is the fuel for action. Your brain releases dopamine when it sees the opportunity for a reward. In nature, rewards were rare and difficult to obtain. But today we live in a world of dopamine abundance. We are surrounded by super stimuli that never existed before. Sweet and fatty food, pornography, video games, social networks. Everything available instantly without effort. Social media algorithms work on the same principle as slot machines, variable reinforcement. You never know if the next swipe of your finger will bring a funny video, a like, or nothing. This unpredictability causes massive dopamine spikes. Your brain gets addicted to the expectation of the reward. What happens when you bombard your brain with these spikes of easy dopamine? The same thing that happens with insulin, resistance. To protect itself from overstimulation, the brain reduces the number of dopamine receptors. The result? You need more and more stimulus just to feel normal. Ordinary life, a walk in the park, a conversation with a friend, work, all loses interest. It seems grey and dull. You no longer have the motivation to do something difficult because the reward is far away, while the phone with bright images is right in your hand. Axiom's analysis calls this dopaminergic burnout. The symptoms are apathy, procrastination, and an inability to concentrate. But there is a way to regain control. It is called a dopamine detox. We need to restore the sensitivity of your receptors so they can hear the soft music of reality again. The first step is awareness of triggers, what drains your attention. The second step is radical abstinence. Choose a day and do a complete reset. No phone, no internet, no music, no books. Just simple food. Why? The answer is boredom. Boredom is your brain's signal that the current level of stimulation is below normal. By depriving it of superstimuli, you force it to look for dopamine in simple things. Suddenly, a walk becomes fascinating. The receptors begin to recover. Energy is not just physical strength. It is the ability to maintain focus on an object long enough to understand its essence. In the modern economy, attention is the new oil. The one who can manage their attention becomes superhuman. To recover this resource, we need to master the flow state. That moment when you are so immersed in a task that the world around you disappears. Time distorts. You do not feel hunger, tiredness, or doubt. Work flows effortlessly. This is not mysticism. It is a specific neurochemical cocktail. In the flow state, the part of your brain responsible for planning and self-criticism, the prefrontal cortex, is temporarily deactivated. The internal critic shuts up. It is possible to enter this state on demand. First, you need blocks of focused work of at least 90 minutes, dedicated to a single complex task. No phone, no other tabs open in the browser. It takes 15 to 23 minutes of uninterrupted focus for the brain to enter a flow state. If you are interrupted, the timer resets. Second, the task must be challenging but achievable. Flow resides in the narrow corridor between boredom and anxiety, where you operate at the limit of your current capabilities. When you clean your dopamine receptors and learn to focus your energy, you discover something surprising. The strength to achieve great deeds was always there. It was just being wasted. Now you can direct that steam into the turbine. But even the sharpest focus is useless if there is an invisible leak in the system. We fixed energy production, optimized fuel, maintenance, and focus. Your body is prepared to be a high-performance reactor. But why might you still feel exhausted? Because there are energy drains that are not on your plate nor in your schedule. They are operating silently, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The first drain is your internal dialogue. The second is your immobility. Welcome to the sixth part, where we will hunt down the energy thieves hiding in plain sight. Your brain does not distinguish well between reality and imagination. When you lie in bed and replay a scenario in your head, what if I get fired? What if I get sick? That person looked at me strangely. For your neural network, this is happening for real. Your visual cortex draws the images, your fear center triggers the alarm, and your glands release cortisol. We analyze the thought patterns of people with chronic fatigue. 90% of them suffer from rumination, mental chewing. It is the infinite reprocessing of negative events from the past, or the catastrophizing of the future. 1 hour of intense worry burns the same amount of neurotransmitters and glucose as 6 hours of complex mathematical work. You did not work, you just sat and felt fear. But your fuel tank is empty. Another energy devourer is grudges and resentment. Holding a grudge is an active process. You need to constantly spend energy to suppress anger, to replay the mental dialogue in search of revenge. It is a program running in the background, consuming your memory and your battery. Forgiving is not an act of morality. It is a selfish act of hygiene and energy conservation. You forgive not for them, but to release your own resources. So, how do we stop this mental virus? First, through awareness. You need to learn to observe your thoughts without engaging with them. Imagine thoughts are cars on a highway, and you are on the shoulder. You see a thought of anxiety pass, but you do not jump into it. You just note, a fearful thought, and let it go. The second energy drain is physical, but equally subtle. Your body is a system of pipes and pumps. The circulatory system has a powerful pump, the heart. But there is another system, your body's sanitation network, the lymphatic system. It removes toxins, dead cells, and viruses, and it has no heart. The only thing that moves lymph is the contraction of your muscles. When you walk, your calf muscles act like a pump, pushing lymph upward. When you sit, the pump is turned off. Axiom's analysis shows a direct correlation between hours spent sitting and the level of systemic inflammation. You feel slow and foggy-minded, not because you are tired from working, but because you are being poisoned by your own waste. Statics is the death of energy. Your body was made to move. A sedentary lifestyle is the new form of smoking. The protocol to combat this is not exhausting workouts, but the integration of movement. Every 30 or 45 minutes, you must stand up, mandatorily. Do 10 squats, climb a flight of stairs, just swing your arms, turn on the muscle pump. 2 minutes of activity every hour can increase your cognitive productivity by 20% by the end of the day. We have plugged the mental and physical leaks. Now, we have a sealed and pressurized system ready to operate. The time has come to put all the pieces together. We dove deep and reverse-engineered the human machine. We dismantled you into your most basic components, the cellular power plants, the fuel codes, the maintenance protocols, and the focus systems. But a pile of perfect parts does not constitute a functional machine. Assembly, synchrony, and a system are necessary. Perfect parts do not form a machine on their own. Synchrony is required. Here is the operations manual for your biology, the architecture of a high-performance life, generated from the final simulation of Axiom. Let us live these ideal 24 hours. Your morning begins, 7 o'clock. You wake up, but not with the shrieking sound of an alarm, which triggers cortisol and simulates a heart attack. You wake up with light, a window without curtains or a luminous alarm clock. Light hits your retina and sends the signal. A new cycle has begun. The first instinct is to grab the phone. This is the fatal error. Picking up the phone in the first few minutes is handing over your focus and your dopamine to other people's algorithms. You do not touch the phone. You get up. First action, hydration. During the night you lost water. Your blood is thicker. You drink 2 glasses of water, perhaps with a pinch of sea salt for electrolytes. Next, movement and light. You go to the balcony or the window. You need direct sunlight. This calibrates your internal rhythms. At the same time, light activation. 5 minutes of jumping jacks, squats. The goal is not to work out, it is to turn on your lymph pump. 7:30, the cold shock. You step into the shower. Warm water for hygiene, and then ice cold. At least 30 seconds. You feel like screaming? Great. It is your brain being flooded with noradrenaline. It is your mitochondria waking up in panic to generate heat. 1 cold shower replaces 3 cups of coffee. You leave the bathroom not like a sleepy zombie, but like a warrior. Time for breakfast? No. Skipping breakfast or delaying it is one of the greatest productivity hacks. Your brain, deprived of sugar, will resort to ketones. Mental clarity during this period will be absolute. From 8:30 to 11:30, it is your focused work block. the hardest and most important task of the day, the phone in another room, you and the task. Remember the flow state. The first 20 minutes will be resistance. Hold firm. Then, brain chemistry takes control. Noon. The first meal. If you eat a sandwich, your workday is over. The wave of carbohydrates will cause an insulin spike followed by a sugar crash, the famous post-lunch coma. Your choice: proteins and fats, eggs with avocado, fish with vegetables. You will feel satiated but not heavy. After eating, no sitting around. A 20-minute walk. This helps direct glucose to the muscles, not to fat. From 2 to 5 in the afternoon, it is the second work block. The energy here is less acute. It is the time for operational tasks, meetings, emails. But the rule remains: every 45 minutes, a break to move. Do not let statics kill your metabolism. The workday ends. You have accumulated micro-stresses. If you go to bed with them, you will not sleep. You need to burn them off. Strength training or a run. This is the ideal time, when body temperature is at its peak. Turn cortisol into muscular joy. 7 in the evening. Dinner. Now and only now carbohydrates are allowed. Sweet potato, brown rice. Why? Carbohydrates help produce serotonin, the neurotransmitter of relaxation, which later converts to melatonin, the sleep hormone. A dinner with carbohydrates is a natural sleeping pill. But remember, the meal must be 3 hours before sleeping. At 8 in the evening, the digital sunset begins. You turn off bright lights, leaving only warm, amber lighting. You put the phone away. The information port is closed. Talk, read a paper book, meditate. Prepare the system for shutdown. Does this seem impossible? It is the voice of your addiction, of your old programming. Real change requires a transition period. The valley of pain lasts from 14 to 21 days. In the first week, it will be hard. But if you persevere, if you follow the protocol mechanically, the day will come when you wake up and feel that gravity has lessened, that your mind is clear as crystal, that you have so much energy you want to run, create, break down walls. Energy is not something you have. It is something you do. You are no longer a passenger in your own body. You are the pilot. Stand up, straighten your back, breathe deep. Your new life does not start on Monday. It starts now. If you like this investigation, subscribing to the channel helps us expand the Axiom investigation project. We would love to read your thoughts on the video's subject in the comments and your suggestion for the next topic to be covered. Tell us which city you are watching from. Thank you for staying with us until the end.